All right, guys, let's find out why Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor works and Eisenberg's doesn't.
Batman v Superman gave us the worst version of Lex Luthor ever. We had to wait almost 10
Do
years
you
to
think?
finally get a version of the character that actually does him justice in live action. And that's thanks to Nicholas Hoult's great performance and the script written by James Gunn. But
Okay.
why does everyone hate Eisenberg's version and love the one from the new movie?
I can tell you partly why. That Eisenberg version was a lot like a Joker. Less like a Lex Luthor and a lot like a Joker.
There are 3 reasons that explain it. The first one is how each version shows the character's intelligence. This is a key part of Lex.
Okay.
Because in every version and in all types of media, he's one of the smartest people on the planet. The weapon he uses against Superman isn't his shredded muscles, his perfect shaped head, or his green and purple arm.
That's some ridiculous
The weapon
vainage.
he uses against Superman isn't his shredded muscles.
What is that from? I don't think I've seen that, guys. You know what cartoon that's from? Look at his veins. They're so, like, gray.
His perfect shaped head, or his green and purple armor. His real weapon is his brain, his mind, his ability to predict what Superman is going to do, and to manipulate literally everyone, from political leaders to public opinion.
True.
We see this in both Eisenberg's Luthor and Holt's, but in totally different ways. In Batman v Superman, Lex has a few lines that sound smart, like this one.
You're psychotic.
That is a 3-syllable word for any thought too big for little minds.
He also acts with this kind of superiority, like he thinks he's better than everyone else. He assumes he's the only one who really understands how dangerous Superman is, and tries to lecture everyone around him, from a congresswoman to Lois Lane. But the
Yeah, I think that's a good universal description of what Lex Luthor is. I really do. I think that's a great universal description.
problem is that it's all just fancy words, because at no point does he actually prove he's smart. Lex's evil plan is to manipulate both Batman and Superman into fighting each other, hoping Batman can kill the Man of Steel. But just in case he fails, Lex has a backup plan. He creates a new creature by mixing his own blood with Zod's body, but at no point does it seem like Lex actually knows what kind of monster he's about to.
Okay, there's one thing that has always bothered me about that scene. He's part human, okay, part Kryptonian. Much of the clones that we see like that are weaker than Superman. But this part human somehow made a more powerful version? Like, you know what I mean? Like that never made any sense to me. So I don't really know how to gauge his strength and stuff.
Create. There was a chance this new thing could have kept Zod's memories or personality and tried to kill Lex the second it woke up. Remember, the last thing Zod tried to do in Man of Steel was wipe out all of humanity.
He's a very dangerous man.
I mean, I don't know. Let's hear more about what he has
But
to
even
say.
if Lex somehow knew he was creating Doomsday, who in this version has no real consciousness or clear motivation, the plan is still super dumb. As soon as
Yeah, right. Okay, that's where I'm at a loss for words. It was just like, what did you think was going to happen? First of all, I didn't expect an adult to pop out. Okay, fully able to use their abilities and do things. That's very strange to me. But second, an adult pop out like that. What did you think was going to happen? You know what I mean? Like it was a very, like, not even worrying about his own skin type move, which is not normally a Lex Luthor move.
Doomsday wakes up, the first thing he does is try to kill his creator.
Disclaimer, I love Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition, very much.
And Lex only survives because Superman saves him. You can't even argue that Lex expected that to happen, because this version of Superman already killed Zod and a terrorist. It's not like he has some unbreakable...
Did he kill that terrorist? I mean, he could have just, used his arms to, I don't know.
moral code about protecting all human life. On top of that, Lex had just kidnapped and tortured his mom, so it was totally possible Superman might have killed him, or at least let him die. But the plan just keeps getting more ridiculous.
Okay.
Luthor's goal was to use Doomsday to kill Superman, but there was no way he could have known they'd end up killing him.
Okay, that right there, though, guys, I'm getting off track here, but the Kryptonite spear, look at
Luthor's
this.
goal was to use Doomsday to kill Superman, but there was no
Blue Kryptonite takes away your powers until the Kryptonite's gone. Gold Kryptonite takes away your powers permanently. Green Kryptonite takes away his powers and hurts him. There's no way to overpower Green Kryptonite, but in many iterations, he has overpowered the Kryptonite somehow and been able to use his powers. But the way I've always seen Green Kryptonite to work is all that solar energy he's absorbed, it's turning it against himself. You know what I mean? Like, he can't use his powers. But they do it. Like in Smallville, they did it. He used his laser vision and then messed up his own cornea. So it's like, wait, so his invulnerability was gone, but his laser vision was there? I don't know. There's a lot of inconsistencies on Kryptonite.
No way he could have known they'd end up killing each other at the same time. If Doomsday killed Superman like Lex wanted, what was supposed to happen next?
Right.
It's not like the monster would take orders from him. And we already saw it could absorb any kind of attack, even nuclear bombs.
It was like, I'm going to unleash this death beast, and then, I guess maybe he knew that, he really didn't even know for sure that Kryptonite would hurt it because it's half human, which again, should have made him kind of weaker. I don't know.
There's no way
am I wrong on this, guys? Let me know in the comments if I'm crazy.
Armies could stop it. And if Doomsday is stronger than Superman, then other heroes like Flash or Aquaman wouldn't stand a chance either. This whole thing could have made more sense if Lex had put some kind of self-destruct chip in Doomsday's brain, like Valentina did with Sentry. That would still be risky, but at least the plan would have had some logic to it.
But how would he destruct it? Like, what would he do? I mean, I guess if he had Kryptonite, but then again, a self-destruct Kryptonite, I don't know that.
I like your plan, except it sucks, so let me do the plan, and that way, it might be really good.
This bunch of plot holes in the villain's master plan makes Lex feel less like a smart guy and more like someone incredibly dumb who just thinks he's smart. That kind of trait might have worked for a different character, like a failed villain such as Captain Boomerang, who's always talking like he's a criminal mastermind, but is actually a total idiot.
If he had unleashed Doomsday and then took off like somewhere into a bunker, that would have made a little bit more sense, but he still would have had to have figured that thing, it's going to survive.
But it doesn't work at all for Lex Luthor, who needs to be a real genius. Hoult's Luthor, on the other hand, doesn't just say he's smart. We actually see him being smart throughout the whole movie. Right from the start, he lays out a pretty solid plan to ruin Superman's reputation.
Yeah.
He clones the Man of Steel to have a powerful weapon to go up against.
Did y'all know that he put like inserts and stuff, and he had some stuff they did to his nose and face to make him not look like a perfect clone? Did y'all realize that? So whenever I was talking about all that stuff where he was shorter, that might have just been part of that. He wasn't a perfect clone.
Against him, but he makes sure the clone doesn't have a mind of its own. It works like a weapon that only answers to Lex, so there's no risk of it turning on him like Doomsday did in Batman v Superman.
That was very smart, but I found it very strange that he didn't have somebody else in control of him, because usually these crime bosses that are also businessmen separate themselves. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Plus, Lex explains that he studied Superman's movements and powers for 3 full years, so he knows everything he can do like the back of his hand. He came up with 2,500 special moves to counter Superman, because he knows what Superman is going to do before even he does.
Yeah, he probably did like VR simulations and stuff with it. 1A, 1A. Like he probably went crazy with trying to make sure that he could beat him before he decided to go out and have him face him the first time. I'm sure that he did that. And also that clone, wouldn't doubt if that is not, well, technically I think we know that clone is not attempt number 1. I believe James Gunn has told us that the dude that is rowing the boat, so to speak, in the Pocket Universe, that white thing, that guy was like his first clone attempt. Not quite human. Wasn't that a movie? I think it was.
Sure, Luthor can't fight Superman one-on-one since he doesn't have powers, but he can use his puppet to beat him, and it's all thanks to his brain. Instead of depending on outside forces he can't control, like Batman or Doomsday, this version of Lex uses his own smarts to take on Superman. He memorized all the moves himself, and runs the whole operation live and in real time to take Superman down, something literally no one else on Earth could do.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, Mr. Headcanon makes good videos. If you want to, see the full video and subscribe to him, links down in the description, and also subscribe to me. But he makes a good point. Like I was saying, why he should get somebody else in charge, but he's right. He's the only one in the world that could actually do it. Sometimes you get to a point in the business where you can't delegate. You gotta do it because you're the best.
So smart, me.
I mean, Lex probably couldn't have found anybody that could study it and fight him the way that he did. It probably would have been one of those things where it was like he had to be involved enough to get arrested because there was just nobody else as good as him, which is where he got himself in trouble.
This plan goes way beyond just making Superman look bad out of jealousy. Toward the end of the movie, we find out he actually supported the Baravian invasion of a neighboring country because he had already struck a deal with the president to take half of the new territory for himself.
Yeah.
Of course, this doesn't work out because Superman and the Planet crew uncover his plans and stop him. But unlike in Batman v Superman, it doesn't feel like Lex sabotaged his own scheme.
The Pocket Universe thing makes a lot lot of sense, though, where he was getting his confidence to do these kind of things, himself and get involved closely, because anybody that caused him any trouble, he just put in the pocket universe. And he always had plan Bs and stuff. Like Metamorpho, he had him in there controlling him, but he made sure he wasn't going to get away by doing his baby. What he didn't count on, spoiler alert, I guess, if you're watching this, you should already know, is that Metamorpho he didn't have the heart to be able to be like, my kid is worth it to not kill all these people. Like, in his brain, it was like, okay, you said you could get to my son, right? Because what's going on here, I'm not cool with, I mean, it was, I'm rambling.
Some people might say this Lex is also an idiot because he let one of his girlfriends take photos of all his secret plans. But in the second act, we see that Lex used to lock up his exes in his own private prison. He didn't think this bimbo was a threat to his plans because he was blinded by his ego and his belief that he's smarter than everyone else. It's a character flaw that actually makes sense in the story, and it lines up with how Luthor acts in the comics. If all that still isn't enough to convince you he's a real genius, Lex literally created a pocket universe without breaking a sweat. Even Mr. Terrific, who's one of the smartest people on Earth, says doing something like that would be super difficult. He basically admits he couldn't have pulled it off himself, which shows that Luthor really does have a next-level brain. Meanwhile, Eisenberg's version can't even brag about building a successful company because he flat out says he inherited it from his daddy.
Yeah, that was something where his psychoticness kind of made sense, because I'm like, he couldn't have built a business. Psychopaths can build businesses, but not the kind that are, like this. Like they're usually able to figure out what an end game is, in their favor. But the way he is, he never could have built a company on his own. People would have figured out his evilness too quick. I mean, he probably had to have very rich people making sure that nobody found out that he was so just messed up in the head. But he is smart. He knows how to run business. He just got too fixated on one thing.
Nepotism in its truest form.
The second reason why one Luthor works, and the other just makes you cringe, is their personality and on-screen presence. In most versions, Lex is weaker than Superman in every way, but he still feels threatening all the time, even without wearing his armor. Some artists, like Frank Quitely, draw Luthor as a total physical beast, while
I didn't like that version of Lex too much. His reminded me of Jesse Eisenberg. I know that came first, and I read that before I ever saw that movie, but it reminds me of that because I'm like, how was this guy ever a businessman? Like, he seems like such a psychopath. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I thought about it. I was like, he doesn't seem like he was ever anything but a mad scientist villain.
Others, like Lionel Francis Yu, make him look slimmer and more refined. But no matter the version, the key is that we have to believe a regular
John Burns was all big. He was the first I think, to, do the businessman thing. I liked that a lot.
Human with no powers can be Superman's nemesis. To pull that off, he has to stay totally calm and confident, especially when he's face to face with Superman. Being smart and having evil plans isn't enough. He needs to be able to stand right in front of the Man of Steel and actually look more intimidating than him. But Eisenberg's Luthor is the exact opposite. He's like a mix between Mark Zuckerberg and Jim Carrey's Riddler. He's a weird, twitchy guy who randomly starts yelling and jumping around. He makes strange noises, bangs on tables, his voice cracks, he stutters, and talks to himself. He even cuts himself off mid-sentence to make it seem like his brain is moving faster than his mouth. It's super cringy because it doesn't match the tone of the movie, which is supposed to be all dark and serious. But the villain acts like a...
I don't know that was cringy, but it just did make it feel like, how did this guy get to where he is?
Looney Tunes character who forgot to take his meds. Worst of all, it kills any sense of presence this version of Luthor might have had. He comes off more like a hyped-up Sheldon Cooper than Superman's greatest enemy.
Bazinga!
When he's face to face with Superman, his hands shake, his voice breaks, and he even gets scared when Superman's eyes go red.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that Eisenberg's only about 5'7", which makes him over 4 inches shorter than...
Is he really only 5'7"? He looks at least 5'10".
Cavill. To make that difference less obvious, they had Cavill kneel down during their scene together, because otherwise Eisenberg would have looked super tiny. But even then, Eisenberg looks like a noodle next to Cavill, so he's not intimidating at all. It feels like Superman could snap him in half just by staring at him. Being fair, they added a scene at the start of the movie showing Lex playing basketball to suggest he's athletic, but he's nowhere near as physically imposing as the version in All-Star Superman or the animated series. On top of that, this version of Lex...
I kind of thought that was just to show that he was in so much power he could play a game while he's working.
Has trouble speaking in public. He gets nervous and seems socially awkward. In this scene, it even looks like he's about to have a panic attack in front of a crowd. Eisenberg plays that type of role really well, but the thing is, Luthor's supposed to be charming and confident. He should be able to talk to anyone without breaking a sweat. Even if he thinks everyone around him is just a bunch of bugs, he's supposed to make people believe he actually cares about them.
He should be good at business deals, which should make him good at communication, which should make him good at doing deals, persuasion and stuff. But Eisenberg was that way too. He just was more directly evil in the way he did it. Like the way he worked with, I don't remember the guy's name, but he put the Jolly Rancher in his mouth. He knew what he wanted and he knew how to get it.
They admire him and feed his ego.
Everybody has to like me. I must be liked.
I like that the Eisenberg Lex Luthor wasn't really concerned about people liking him so much. He was concerned about, I don't know that any Lex Luthor version is ever concerned about people liking him. He's just concerned about accomplishing his goals. That's really it. He's concerned about accomplishing his goals. If he can accomplish his goals, he's happy.
Nicholas Hoult, on the other hand, actually does look imposing, just like the Lex from the comics.
He does.
The guy is 6'3", just an inch shorter than Korner, so he can stand right in front of Superman and look him straight in the eye without needing platform shoes to appear taller than he really is.
Yeah.
That makes their first face-off work really well. Superman bursts into Lex's office, and they go eye to eye.
Yeah, this scene was really good because it showed how powerful Lex was. He didn't care that that wasn't intimidating him because he knew that Superman wasn't going to hurt him. And he also knew, I got you. And because you're mad, this is a good thing because now you're going to be a little off. You're going to be a little weak. I think Lionel Luthor says that in Smallville, showing anger as weakness or something like that.
Lex stands up, you can see they're the same height. And even though he's not wearing a flashy costume, Lex still looks big. Holt might not have done the same intense gym workouts as Kornsved, but he's definitely in good shape.
Oh, yeah.
They even put him in tight suits so his muscles show through the clothes. Instead of looking soft like Eisenberg, this Lex is more like the one from All-Star Superman, who could intimidate anyone just by the way he looked.
I never considered Eisenberg's to look soft, but I didn't consider muscular either. I was so focused on how nuts he was. Like, none of that came to my mind.
In this first meeting with Superman, we also see that he stands out more than Eisenberg thanks to his personality. He doesn't stutter, hesitate, or fumble around. He doesn't act like a kid trying to impress his parents. Instead, he's a cold, calculating genius eaten up by envy. His girlfriend and this other guy are practically peeing themselves when Superman barges in, but Lex stays totally cool and tells Eve to start recording. He doesn't raise his voice, but he doesn't back down either when Superman demands his dog back. He keeps it together the whole time, even grabbing his coffee before Superman throws his desk.
Yeah, that was
across the
kind of
room.
funny.
It's what the Japanese call unagi.
That kind of behavior feels a lot like the Lex from Jeff Loeb's For All Seasons, a guy with an iron will who never cracks under pressure.
Oh, yeah.
This Lex genuinely believes he's better than Superman, even if he doesn't have superpowers. Plus, instead of having panic attacks when he's in public, Holt is always the most commanding presence in any room he walks into. He can talk circles around politicians, military leaders, and even convince the whole world that Superman is a serious threat. He's totally steady when speaking to the most powerful people in the US, and he's perfectly comfortable talking on live television too. He even pretends to be scared after releasing Superman's message to the public, just to make the viewers feel afraid too. But for us, the audience, who've already seen what he's really like in earlier scenes, it's obvious he's faking it. He's not scared at all, but he's great at faking it, like a true manipulator.
That might have been good for him, though, to make us wonder if he really was worried or not. But I guess he's Lex Luthor, so there would have been no way to trick the audience that much.
Lex's personality shifts in the second act, when Superman escapes the pocket universe. That's when we finally see him explode and start yelling because he feels powerless. But instead of being cringy like
Showing the
Eisenberg's
weakness.
Luthor, Holt's version still feels threatening. At that point, he's more like the Luthor from Superman Birthright. He loses his composure, but still comes off as someone who thinks he's above everyone else. He even throws a mug on the floor on purpose, just so his staff will have to pick it up for him. Even in his worst...
that was really a big show of power because in his weakness, he just throws something down and just makes people go like ants to pick it up, and it's like you can tell he's feeling weak and he's finding a way to feel powerful.
moments, when it looks like Superman's about to win and everything's falling apart, this version of Luthor still feels menacing. And now we get to the third reason, the most important one, Luthor's motivations and why he hates Superman. In the comics, Luthor and Superman represent two totally different sides of humanity. Superman stands for honesty, kindness, redemption, forgiveness, and hope. He's a symbol of growth, of being better and rising above. Luthor, on the other hand, represents humanity's worst traits: revenge, the desire to dominate, to humiliate others, selfishness, extreme individualism, envy, and deep resentment. These two are destined to clash because they represent opposite aspects of the human condition. On top of that, Luthor truly believes he's the peak of human potential, the ultimate example of what a person can become. He's
Yeah, I would say that's true.
obsessed with a twisted idea of merit and success.
Man, Mr. Headcanon really dives deep into the character of characters.
But then Superman shows up, someone who can do the impossible without even trying, just because he has different genes. To make things worse, this alien is adored by the public, something Lex desperately wants but can never truly have, because many people see him as a monster. Eisenberg's Luthor drifts pretty far from this concept. Sure, he wants to destroy Superman's public image and show he's a fake god, but his main motivation is that his dad used to beat him when he was a kid. He prayed to God for help, but no one came to rescue him. So he decided God either wasn't all-powerful, or if he is, then he must not be good.
Yeah, I would think there'd be more than that.
He let his suffering continue. When he grew up and met Superman, Lex relived that childhood trauma because he saw someone who could be considered a modern-day god. He felt the need to expose him, since he believes all gods are fake.
He's a fake. He's full of stickum.
That motivation could have been
That guy was so good at that role.
interesting for a DC villain, but the main issue is that it's not really about Superman specifically. Lex could have aimed his anger at any metahuman, because a lot of writers portray the Justice League as modern gods. In fact, it would have made way more sense for him to target Wonder Woman, who's literally the daughter of a god. Lex knows Diana exists, but for some reason, he's totally fine with her. That was a mess.
Well, I mean, he's a Superman villain. It doesn't bother me that much. That's one reason why I do prefer movies to be sans other superheroes, like the Dark Knight movies. I like that. I like it when it's just that superhero in that world. But I get that you can create a much bigger billion-dollar industry whenever you have movies where they can all come together.
But Hoult's Luthor actually does line up way more with the Lex from the comics. He tries to make himself king of his own country because he's obsessed with power, wealth, total control, and recognition. He straight up says he wants everyone to admire him, and he gets offended when people compare him to historical figures like Galileo or Einstein. That shows how massive his ego is. He genuinely thinks he's the most important person on Earth. What's interesting is that no one in the movie actually makes those comparisons out loud. Most likely, it's just his employees hyping him up to stroke his ego, but nobody outside of Luthor Corp really sees him that way. Meanwhile, the world is head over heels for Superman, who just has to smile and save people to win everyone's hearts. That drives Lex crazy with jealousy, because in his twisted view of humanity, he thinks Superman makes regular humans look weak and pathetic. He feels the Man of Steel has an unfair advantage, because he sees himself as the smartest person in history.
Yeah, that's pretty common in the how Lex Luthor is. The fact that, and I like how in Superman Returns, Lex said that he wouldn't share his powers with the rest of mankind. How he could do that, I don't know. But yeah, he's right.
But he also knows he'll never be as fast or strong as Superman.
You're not Superman, you know.
This version of Lex believes that killing Superman will help humanity reach real progress without relying on aliens who were born with special powers. He thinks he's doing humanity a favor, but in reality, he's in love with the idea of humanity, not actual people. That's why he feels no guilt after killing this man. Later on in the movie, he even says all of Superman's supporters should be left to die too, and he's willing to sacrifice all of Metropolis just for a shot at beating Superman.
Yeah, that was a really powerful line to me when he was like, they chose him, let them die too. I mean, that was pretty powerful.
Where Eisenberg's Luthor feels like a random villain of the week who could have fought any DC hero, Hoult's Lex is the perfect...
Now, I will say, I didn't hate Eisenberg's Luthor. I didn't hate it, but to me, it was just unlike any version of Lex Luthor that there has ever been. I mean, it wasn't very Luthor-like, which it's been said many times, the DCEU is really more like just a giant Elseworld story. That's about the only way that you can justify. I love Elseworld stories. I have a bunch of them and want more of them. One of my favorite ones was supposed to be, one of my favorite Superman stories of all time was supposed to be an Elseworld story, but they had like publishing issues and stuff, but it is an Elseworld story. So, I mean, I am okay that Snyder ventured that route, but I prefer when we do stuff like this right here.
Nemesis for Superman. He represents the complete opposite, just like in the comics. Maybe if the Luthor we saw in Batman v Superman hadn't been such a clown, that movie wouldn't have been so controversial. And maybe the old
clown, yeah, he was more Joker-like. He really was.
DCU wouldn't have gone downhill. It's a shame because it really had a lot of potential and started off strong. I talk all about the rise and fall of the DCU in this video.
No, ma'am.
Well, that was a good video, guys. Don't forget to check out his channel. Mr. Head Cannon does good videos. Also, don't forget to subscribe to mine. I don't just do reactions. I also make my own videos. And if you want to see a reaction or one of my own videos, you can check out either one of those right here.